Unit 6 VLSI testing and analysis. So, first we will see the introduction. Now, after the chip is fabricated, it is tested for manufacturing defects. The chip designer must verify or validate the design to ensure the circuit performance. The verification or a validation is a different process than testing. The verification is related to a format proof of correctness, while validation is a technique that increases the confidence in correctness. The verification is related to the formal proof of correctness, while validation is a technique that increases the confidence in correctness. Okay, so the testing of VLSI system is a big task for the designer as well as for the test engineer. Both of these encounter difficulties in testing the prototype, which can be mostly attributed in three factors. So usually there is no means by which the circuit can be modified during the test to make it work. The VLSI systems are very complex. VLSI systems are very complex systems, and it is not possible to probe the circuit nodes for monitoring or excitation because the entire surface of the chip except the pad is sealed by an overglass layer. The fault should be detected as early as possible in the fabrication of any product. So in this connection, the rule of 10 becomes applicable to the cost involved in testing and is worth mentioning. If the cost of testing of the chip is rupees, say we can say X, then once the chip is soldered into the PC board along with other components, the cost of testing becomes rupees 10x, that is 10 times increases. Then after the board is integrated into equipment, then the cost of testing further escalates by another factor of 10 to make it rupees 100x, that is 100 times. Lastly, this cost may further jump by a factor of 10 then when the equipment containing the chip is in the use in the field. Hence, it is almost necessary to test at the chip level itself to as much details as possible. From this consideration, another fact that comes to light is that mistakes committed during design fabrication of chip prove very costly both in terms of money and time because it increases time to market. The approach of the design for testability helps eliminate this and is an essential part of good design. At the design stage itself, the requirement of the testing must be considered, and a necessary and sufficient measure of testability should be incorporated in should be incorporated into the architecture. So it is even worth to dedicate 30% of the chip area of the purpose of the testability. So when digital system is manufactured, the testing is required to verify that it functions correctly, whether it functions correctly. When multiple copies of ICs are manufactured, each copy must be tested to verify that it is free from manufacturing defects. This testing process can become very expensive and time consuming, and the cost of testing is major component of the manufacturing cost. Therefore, it is very important to develop efficient methods of testing digital systems and to design the system so that they are easy to test. So, the modeling of faults. The fault model identifies the target fault, the model fault most likely to occur. A fault model limits the scope of the test generation. It creates a test only for the model faults. Then fault model makes the effectiveness measurable by experiments. Fault coverage can be computed for a specific test pattern to reflect its effectiveness. Fault model makes the analysis possible and associate a specific defects with specific test pattern. So, model for how fault occur and their impact on the circuit is called fault model. A model for how fault occur and their impact on circuit is called a fault model. A fault model for every circuit is proposed before actual testing. So there are two popular fault models: stuck at fault, stuck open or stuck short fault. In general, the effect of fault is represented by means of model which represent the change the fault produces in the circuit signal. The fault models in use today are stuck at fault, bridging fault and stuck open, or we can say stuck short fault. So the stuck at fault model is most popular and simpler model, and a stuck open or stuck short model is more close to the real behavior of the circuit, but it is difficult to incorporate. So when we use a signal stuck at fault model compared to the multiple stucks at fault model, the signal stuck at fault model cannot be mapped to the DUT. Now the stuck at fault. The most common model used for the logical fault is single stuck at fault. It assumes that a fault in a logic gate results in one of its input or the output being fixed to either a logic 0 or a logic 1, and it assumes that a fault in a logic gate results in one of its input or the output being fixed to either a logic 0, or we can say stuck at 0, or logic 1 stuck at 1. So stuck at 0 and 1 faults are often abbreviated to S stuck at 0 or 1 respectively, and the abbreviations will be adopted. Stuck at fault model assign a fixed value 0 or 1 to the signal line in the circuit, which is an input or output of the gate or flip-flop. So popular forms of stuck at fault are single stuck at fault, two fault per line, that is stuck at 1 and 0. The properties that fault model must possess are: the model must correspond to a real fault, and the model must have adequate granularity. The model must be accountable, the model must be automated. So stuck at fault model, even though corresponds to a real fault, but it does not represent all possible fault. The granularity means what? It means resolution at which a model represents a fault. So a fault model with a fine granularity is more useful than a model with coarse granularity. Model with fine granularity is more useful than a model with coarse granularity. So the fault model can be deducted by using a basic circuit such as AND or inverter and tri-state buffer. And stuck at fault mostly occur due to the shorting of the gate oxide, we can say NMOS gate to the ground or PMOS gate to the VDD, or metal to metal shorts. The next is bridging, or we can say short circuit fault. So bridging or short circuit fault. The bridging fault form an important class of permanent fault which cannot be modeled as a stochastic fault. A bridging fault occurs when two leads in a logic network are connected accidentally and wired logic is performed at the connection. Depending on whether a positive or negative logic is being used, the system have the effect respectively of ending or ORing the signals involved. So here are the examples of the bridging fault. So here is a comparison of bridging and the stochastic fault. With stochastic fault, if there are n lines in the circuit, then there are 2n possible single stochastic fault and 3 raised to n minus 1 possible multiple stochastic fault. With bridging fault, if bridging between any S lines in a circuit are considered, then the number of single bridging fault will be allowed and the number of multiple bridging fault will be very much larger. So bridging fault inside an integrated circuit chip. The bridging fault inside an integrated circuit chip may arise if the insulation between adjacent layers of the metallization inside the chip breaks down The two conductors in the same layer are shorted due to improper masking or etching. Now the types of bridging fault. The bridging faults are classified into two types: input bridging and feedback bridging. Next is transistor, or we can say a switch fault. The MOS transistor is considered an idle switch, and two types of faults are modeled: stuck open, stuck short. Stuck open, we have already seen, a single transistor is permanently stuck in the open state. Stuck short means a single transistor is permanently shorted irrespective of its gate voltage. Then detection of the stuck open fault require two vectors, and the detection of stuck short fault requires the measurement of quiescent current. Then the next part is, now before going to the DFT, the stuck open fault. There are some concepts like controllability, observability. So testing a logic gate in a network is harder than testing it in isolation. When the gate is in the combinational network, its inputs and outputs are not directly accessible. Therefore, testing a gate inside a combinational network require applying input and checking output from the gate. detection of the stuck open fault require two vector. That sorry, when the gate is in the combinational network, its input output are not directly accessible. So testing gate inside a combinational network require applying input and checking output from the gate. So with direct access to its input and output, and the problem can split into two parts. Now what is controlling? The controlling the input of gate by applying the values to the network primary inputs. Controlling means controlling the input of the gate by applying the values to the network primary input, and observing the output of the gate by inferring its value from the values at the network primary output. So, what is controllability? The controllability of an internal circuit node within a chip is a measure of ease of setting the node to logic 1 or 0. Controllability measure has the importance when accessing the degree of difficulty of testing a particular signal within a circuit. Easily controllable node is the node which is directly available as an input pad, and it means it has a high value of controllability. A node with a little controllability take many hundreds or thousands of the cycle to get it in the right state, and so it is difficult to generate a test sequence to set a number of poorly controllable node into a right state. So aim is that a well designed circuit is to have all nodes easily controllable. Now the next is observability. Now observability. The observability of a particular internal circuit is the degree to which one can observe that node at the output of an integrated circuit. That is the output pin. And the observability means it has an importance when a designer or a tester desires to measure the output of gate within a larger circuit to check that whether it operates correctly. So high observability means less number of cycles are required to measure the output value node. Low observability means it takes a more number of cycles to observe the value of output node. So for well-designed chips, the aim is to have easily observed gate output. The degree of testability of a circuit, that is controllability and observability, it can be measured with respect to whether test vectors are generated deterministically or randomly. So for example, the degree of testability of circuit can be measured with respect to whether the test vectors are generated deterministically or randomly. If logic node is set to either logic 0 or 1, then only through a very long sequence of random test vector, the node is said to have a very low random controllability. Since the probability of generating such a vector in random test generation is very low. The deterministic procedure for test generation of combinational circuit are available, such as the algorithm or PODM, that is path oriented decision making, and fan out oriented test generation. The D algorithm uses a recursive search procedure, advancing one gate at a time and backtracking if necessary until all the faults are detected. This algorithm requires a large amount of computer time. To overcome this drawback, many improved algorithms are developed, such as path oriented decision making and fan out oriented test generation. So sequential circuit test generation is more difficult than the above the previous algorithms. If large number of input vectors are required to set a particular node value to logic 1 or 0 and to propagate an error at the node to an output, then the testability is low. So poor controllability include those circuit with feedback decoder and clock generator. Similarly, the circuit with poor observability include sequential circuit with long feedback loops and circuit with a recurrent fan out, redundant nodes, and embedded memories such as random access memory and read only memory and programmable logic array. Thank you.